everyone, so I hope you're having a really fantastic day. Today I want to chat with you all about breastfeeding because I watched a bajillion of these videos when I was pregnant, and I just wanted to add one to the bunch just to give you my tips, tricks, experience, so if there's anything you can learn or anything you want to ask me, I am here for you guys. So breastfeeding is not an easy thing and it doesn't come naturally, I don't think, to anyone really. If it does for you, then that's great, but I think it can be a really complicated thing and tricky, and I think it can make a lot of women worry about supply, and gosh, there's just so many different things that come with breastfeeding, and I probably won't manage to cover everything in this video, but I'll do my best to just share everything that I've learned. So from the beginning, our little bean was born prematurely, and he was in the neonatal here in Belgium for 3 weeks before we managed to take him home. So the first couple of days he actually was fed through a tube in his nose with milk that I had expressed using the machines that they had at the hospital. Now it was a weird kind of time. The first few times that you are producing milk is just amazing, and I remember taking pictures of the amounts of milk as it got more and more and the colours changed and stuff as I was expressing those first few weeks. So the first, after I think the second day maybe, I actually got to try feeding him directly. Now he was still really little, but I think he did an amazing job. He found it took him a really long time, and I'm not sure if that's normal to feed. So he would take like an hour of just sucking, and then he'd fall asleep for a couple of hours, wake up, feed for an hour, and then fall asleep for a couple of hours, and that was kind of his routine. But he just took such a long time. He was a very sleepy baby, and we had to keep tickling his toes to keep him awake, or scratching the top of his head to keep him awake so that he wouldn't just fall asleep whilst he was feeding. So we were weighing him before and afterwards, as that was kind of the hospital procedure to see how much he'd actually fed. And if he hadn't done a great job basically, or he hadn't had enough, they would top him up with some of the milk that I'd expressed. So basically after a feeding session, I'd just go and express whatever was left, and then put that in the fridge, so they always had some left. Now I actually kind of think that really helped with my supply, because I was always empty, and then so it was always being filled up, and it's always really good to keep everything empty so it fills straight up, because if the baby's taking teeny tiny amounts, then it's sending a signal that it's not heaps hungry. So if you're setting we were on a schedule as well, so I wasn't able to just feed him 10 minutes later because I wasn't there, or a nurse was doing it or something. Now I would definitely recommend everyone to get one of the Medela pumps specifically if you've got access to a Medela pump. I just got a single one rather than a double, but if you can shell out for the double, then it's quicker and better, and probably a good thing, although that's kind of an awkward thing to do for a long time, holding the pumps. I think your arms would hurt, so I don't know. Anyway, I had a single one. I really recommend that, because even if you're at home and your baby's not born prematurely, we actually used ours until he was about 4 months old, because I would just follow that same routine of expressing. He also had some problems with spitting up quite a lot, so kind of a little bit of reflux, which we fixed by putting his bed at a bit of an angle, and that anytime I felt my boobs are super full, I would express a little bit first, so he wasn't just getting this super fast milk which was just coming straight back up. So that really helped as well. And then anything that I'd got, I was also very precious over my milk, so I have these Medela breast shells which you can put in your bra, and it collects a ridiculous amount actually those first few months of milk, which you can then just save. And any milk that I'd expressed at the beginning of the day or collected in shells throughout the day, I would we just offer it to our son at the end of the day, when your supply is actually a little bit lower than it would be the rest of the time. So that's kind of probably some of my best tips right there. The rest of the time, basically once we got back home, we managed to get him back home because he'd learned how to feed himself pretty well whilst we were in the hospital. It was a really funny period because we were doing a real weird combination of him feeding in a bottle, my milk, and then directly my milk, because they wanted to make sure he was having enough. And well, I'm glad for it, but I kind of hope the next one I don't have to do that with, because it would just be nice to feed on demand rather than on a schedule. However, the schedule helped because we had a great sleeper for the first few months, so I am not saying that's a bad thing at all. Then moving onwards, probably about the 10th week into him being born, I'd only ever fed in the house. So the 10th week, my mum came over and she just was like, you need to get out, you need to learn to feed on the go, because otherwise you're going to be trapped in this house the whole time. And so I got one of those breastfeeding covers, just one of the really simple cheap ones from Amazon, and off we went out to one of my favorite cafes, and I just sat there like this for 20 minutes, like this for 20 minutes, and fed him. And people looked at me, and some people looked at me like, what are you doing? Then they realise and they go, oh, shouldn't be looking. Or some people look at you and go, oh, that's so cute. And to be honest, most of the time I get generally sort of like people smile at me, because people are really happy to see people breastfeeding in public. Obviously, well, I'm not happy with just letting everything show. If you are, I think power to you, but I kind of feel like for everybody's kind of brains, and my husband's always been like, I don't want anyone else to see you but me. So I do try to keep everything covered up, but if I'm in the house, I'd never use a cover because it's just a pain. But it's useful for the baby as well, because it keeps everything dark and everything is, you can't get distracted. So that kind of leads me on to my next thing of schedules. So we actually did feed pretty much on a schedule, and he kind of kept to that schedule even from a really young age. So he would feed every 3 to 4 hours, and then he'd basically wake up, I'd change him, we'd feed him, he'd stay awake for a couple of hours, sleep for a couple of hours, and then we'd repeat. And it was really, really super easy. Actually, once we started introducing solid food, that's when it became a little bit more complicated, and I had to really learn more of his signals and how much I needed to give him. And we've always done it that he has milk first, and then 20 minutes later I'll offer him food. But he just really wasn't interested in food until like very recently, that he would eat a lot of it. But he has also gone through phases, and I think I found that the hardest thing really, because some days he's really hungry and other days he's not. Some days he's teething, he just won't eat anything and he wants to feed every couple of hours. And you just, as a mother, you just have to kind of go with the flow, and every day will be a bit different from the last day, and that's okay. And I guess it's taken me a really long time to accept that, and I think I'm gonna have to always just remind myself of that, because every week is so different, and it means that it's harder for me to actually accomplish stuff. But I'm very happy to do that because it makes for a happier baby. So what other tips and tricks can I give you? Bras. I've just got a bunch of these like Sia nursing bras that you can get on Amazon. You can get a triple pack with black, beige and pink, and I love them. I actually bought 2 packs, so 6 of them, because that's all I've worn. They're very comfortable, they're inexpensive, and they absolutely work. I've also got a bunch of fabric breast pads, as well as kind of like eco recyclable, use only one time kind of ones for outside the house. And I like those are very important, those first few months, because when one starts to go, the other one starts to go, and you really only got one baby that can be on one side at one time. So you will need those when you're out. And I just used to keep a bunch in my bag. I actually still do, but I don't really need them as much anymore. I'm probably sure that in a month or two, when he sort of starts weaning, potentially, that I will require them again, so they're always in my bag. Other things, so those first few months we did, I was still expressing. There was just one morning when I just decided to stop doing it. I think we went on holiday and I just think it was just impractical, so I just stopped doing it. And he's been fine, and my supply has been fine. I think also by the 3rd month your supply is pretty set, and so I was just like, okay, well, I'll stop now, because I basically told or sent signals to my boobs to produce this amount, and so there'll always be enough. And also, I think if you've ever read any Gina Ford, she says that expressing is really great, because actually it keeps your supply like more than your baby needs, and so then when baby gets to a growth spurt and is requiring a lot more and more and more milk, it's actually just there naturally anyway. So on growth spurts, they'll just take more of the milk that you've expressed, and you won't have to throw a bunch in the freezer. Which is another thing you probably need, is freezer bags, because you'll end up with more milk than you need. And to be honest, I've got an entire thing full of frozen milk downstairs, which I will never actually use, I don't think, because it'd be out of date. But I know in certain countries you can actually donate the milk to places, and you possibly can here, but I'm not sure where, and it's now a bit too late for me to figure that one out. So other things I can tell you. We did get a bottle heater as well, so that my husband could offer our son the milk in the evening nice and warm. And we just got a pretty simple one, and we got also like a bottle rack so that we could put all the bits on it, and we could rinse everything as well, so we could rinse like the breast shells and everything. It's amazing the amount of stuff that you get, and it's just a little bit crazy. Throughout the night, actually Arben's been pretty good always. I mean, I do a dream feed at about like 11 o'clock when we're going to bed, or 10:30, depending on, and that's always worked out, again, really great for supply. I really recommend doing that. And there's been a couple of nights he's not had it, he's been fine and slept through until 6 a.m. and it's not been a problem. So hopefully we're in that new phase. But that evening he went to bed at 8 p.m. He woke up at 6 a.m. but I woke up at 4 a.m. because my boobs were leaking milk everywhere. They were just like, where is the baby? I need the baby. Like, oh my goodness. So it's days like those where kind of co-sleeping probably works out pretty well, because you could just like put the baby on the boob and it would be fed, and that would be amazing, rather than waking up in a pool of milk. So that's another tip, is to put just like just put a towel down underneath you, otherwise you'll be changing your sheets all the time. And the top ones also get pretty soaked, so you'll be washing your sheets a bit more than you think. So light coloured sheets is a good idea. So that's kind of my video about breastfeeding. Right now we breastfeed still probably about 5 or 6 times a day, which sounds like a lot, but he's now very, very quick. Literally, I think on the 4th month he went from taking about like 20 minutes either side, he went down to 10, and then literally I think like the following day he went down to it being about 5 minutes either side, and then he was done. On days when he's not feeling so great or he's sleepy, he takes longer, but that's fine. It means when we're out now, feeding is really quick, and it's not like I need to find a space where I'm going to be sat for half an hour, which is awesome. So anyone who has any questions, just ask them in the comments box below, or send me a private message on Facebook or whatever. And I hope that this was helpful to some of you out there, and yeah, all the best. Any other questions about other things, about being a mummy or anything, just let me know and I'll get back to you. And I hope you liked the Christmas tree in the background. It's our first real one and I'm like super chuffed with it. So have a good day, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.